Barbie. Chloe. Period I, period 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 period I, period. Got my name up in your mouth, you don't know no better. Don't forget I'm from the South, yeah, I got them headers. You watching everything I do, studying all of my moves. Wish you could do what I do. Period I, period period I, period period I, period period I, period.
Hello, litigators and opinionators. Court is now in session. And y'all, this case is quickly developing. More information is coming out. It appears as though Jamia, the victim involved in this tragedy, and we've been talking about this case regarding DARIUS, a very well-known, prominent basketball player at the University of Alabama, here on the screen to the left, and his fake friend, okay, again, a friend that was not a good influence on him, Mr. Michael over here to the right with that smirk on his face because he's proud of unaliving the poor victim in this case. But Inside Edition did an interview with Jamia's mother, the victim involved, the 23-year-old mother who was unalived because she merely rejected him or merely didn't even say anything to him, tried to get away from him, right? So, guys, based upon the information that's come out on the interview with the mother, and I'm going to play it for you guys because it gave some more details. One of the details that was shed light on is that when DARIUS tried to date Jamia, he basically was trying to get Jamia to talk to him. And while he was doing that, and she ignored him, he said, "Do you know who I am?" See, that's why I get the whole idea that that DARIUS, he had an ego about him. His ego was bruised because he's this well-known, prominent basketball player on, a prominent team. And so he's so used to these women throwing themselves at him. And because Jamia didn't give him the ego booster that he needed, which is he wants her to kiss his butt like all the other women do because he's on the basketball team. He wanted her to do that, and she didn't do that. So she bruised his ego because he's so used to women just throwing themselves at him, right? He's so used to that. So this is a case of a bruised ego of a man, an egotistical man who got his ego hurt because one woman out of all of the hundreds of women that has thrown themselves at this man rejected him. Okay, so let's listen to this Inside Edition interview. I thought it was really good. It gave us some details, y'all, and I want us to talk about some of the details that came out because there's actually a lot more details that came out from this. Also, another detail that I found because I looked at another video, and when we were talking about this case, we were saying one of the suspects were shot. Well, I seen a video of Michael. Michael was walking into the patrol car, and some key things I noticed about him, which made me believe it was Michael for certain that Michael was the one that was shot, is because Michael had, one of those hospital bands when you come out of the hospital. He had a hospital band on his wrist, and he had one of those tops that you wear when you go to the hospital. When you go in the hospital and they tell you to change out of your clothes and then put this outfit on or whatever, he had that on too. So now that gave me evidence that it was actually Michael who was shot, which also supports the evidence that it was Michael who shot the victims, and he was shot by Cedric allegedly in self-defense. So we at least have established who was actually shot in the case. And now we can at least put the pieces together that it was DARIUS that was trying to make a pass at this beautiful mother who is ignoring him, as she should, because she has a whole man right next to her. Her baby's father is with her, okay? And his ego was so bruised, you guys. He was like, "Do you know who I am? Like, how dare you reject the star of the University of Alabama-based basketball team? How dare you?" That's what he was saying. And so he got so mad, in my opinion, and gave the gun to his friend who, some friends, when a man is in a prominent position, you'll have these bottom fruit men who don't have anything going for them that will literally do their dirty work. So it appears to me like Michael was that bottom friend, that low life friend, the bottom of the fruit, low life friend because he didn't have any education. He wasn't going to any schools apparently, and it looks like he was just, coming there to visit his very cool, high-profile friend Darius Miles. So Darius Miles walks around with this ego, and he has these low-life, bottom-fruit friends, in my opinion, who don't have anything going for themselves, who will literally be at their beck and call, be at Darius's beck and call. So it feels like Darius had Michael, who was the bottom-fruit friend, the low-life friend, do his dirty work of taking care of the woman that rejected him, which is why he allegedly admitted to giving the firearm to him. But so let's take a look at this video, y'all, because I think this video is going to really help shed some light.
Basketball star weeps as he's taken to jail, charged with murder. It's raw emotion as the University of Alabama's Darius Miles shouts to his mom.
I swear.
So the first question that was answered for us, because I remember on my other two lives, we were trying to figure out, who is he talking to? We were like, who is he talking to when he said, I love you more than you can imagine? And now we have an answer from the Inside Edition that he was looking at his mother and telling his mother that he loves her more than she can imagine, I swear. So now we have that answer, because that was one of the questions we had in part 1 and part 2. So let's keep playing.
More than you imagine.
The 21-year-old star is charged with fatally shooting a 23-year-old woman, Jamea Harris, near the university campus. Darius Miles allegedly tried to flirt with the victim as she sat in a parked car with her boyfriend and a cousin. One eyewitness says when she refused to talk to him, he persisted, telling her, "Don't you know who I am?" Then things turned ugly and a gun battle erupted.
So she gave us a lot. She really clarified a lot of things for us. So allegedly, it appears as though the victim and her boyfriend and her cousin were already in the car. And he was persistent in trying to pursue this woman. And he wasn't going to take no for an answer because he is so used to all of these women were worshiping this guy because of his status on campus. Because he's this well-known star on campus at the University of Alabama, he's literally used to all these women at the school throwing himself at him. However, Jamea doesn't go to that school. She was coming from out of town with her boyfriend, her longtime boyfriend that she's been with for over 7 years, and the father of her child. They traveled down to see her cousin, and she didn't know anything about Darius's prominent status at the campus. So she could care less who he was. And Brian, and Darius Miles was very offended about that. He's like, how dare she reject me? Do you know who I am? And he wasn't going to let that go down. So he had the audacity to give the gun to his friend, the low-life guy, to do his dirty work for him. And he thought that was going to basically wipe his hands clean of any criminal liability. But no, you are aiding and abetting, allegedly, by giving the gun to the person who ultimately committed the murder. So it's like he didn't get away with that. But let's keep playing.
A Ring camera captured the chilling sound of gunfire and 2 bystanders fleeing for their lives. I spoke with the victim's mom, who said she still hasn't broken the news to her daughter's 5-year-old child.
I know at some point he's going to want to know where his mom is. And when that time comes, I just don't know how I explain.
Crimson Tide basketball coach Nate.
That is so sad. Did you see Jamea's mom? She looks so broken and still in shock. And she still hasn't even broken it to the boy yet, the son. Man, that is so sad, guys. Isn't it?
Nate Oates says the whole team is grieving.
I've got 3 daughters. Went through my mind how easily could have been one of mine. Tough situation. Talked to Darius's mother multiple times yesterday. Very hard situation on both accounts.
But the victim's mom says she's outraged by the accused killer's display of emotion.
I love you more than you imagine.
It just enraged me that he could cry to his mother after he took another person's life.
Darius Miles' attorney says his client maintains his innocence and looks forward to his day in court.
Yeah, that's messed up. He can wave to his mom and tell her how he loves her more than she could imagine. But Jamia's mother can never talk to her little girl again. She has to go to a graveyard. That is so messed up. Just because she wasn't interested in you. There's just, guys, we're living in dangerous times. We are living in dangerous times where men cannot accept no for an answer. It's very dangerous. There's been several cases like this. I mean, there was one case that just happened, I think last year, where a woman, she was walking down the street and the man made advances towards her and she said she wasn't interested. And then he proceeded to try to feel on her body, like tried to violate her physically. And she turned around and popped him for like, don't touch me. And he shot her and killed her. Yeah, killed her. And now we're hearing about Brian Kohlberger, his ego. He can't handle rejection, in my opinion. And again, he's innocent until proven guilty. But still, he couldn't accept it and took out these poor women because of his prior inabilities to accept rejection, y'all. Right. Did you hear that Alicia talking about, don't you know who I am? Like Jamia was like, no, I'm not even from here. Like, and the thing is, now we're hearing more details. It doesn't appear as though there was really an argument. It sounds like she didn't say anything to him at all. And a lot of people was giving Jamia's boyfriend a hard time, saying he looked, kind of rough around the edges, but it doesn't appear as though Cedric even said anything to him. And Cedric could have easily, which is Jamia's boyfriend, the father of her child, he could have easily, said something back to Darius to say, hey, don't be talking to my woman like that. She has a man. But he didn't even say anything. So it seems like they just were ignoring Darius, and Darius, his ego couldn't handle it. Do you know who I am? I am God. I am God of the universe because I am on the University of Alabama basketball team. That's what they think. These men with these egos, just because they're on a basketball team, they think women have to drop everything for them. Seriously, drop their standards, drop everything. I bet you Jamia was the first woman that rejected him. And see, she didn't know who he was. To her, he was just a regular guy trying to holler at her and disrespect her in front of her child's father, the love of her life. Like I said, they've been together for over 7 years. So they had a very solid relationship dating back to high school. They went to their prom together. They had their first child together. They had so many prominent experiences together. And that poor man is broken. Jamia's, oh my gosh, guys, Jamia's boyfriend, he is broken. He is so broken because that's the only girl, based on looking at his Facebook. He's still a very young man. He hasn't really lived life yet. So he experienced a lot of his monumental experiences with Jamia. Yeah, he spent a lot of his prominent experiences with this young lady and had his first child with her, in my opinion, based upon how close they were. And I'll show you a picture so you know who I'm talking about. So a lot of you guys are new to this story. A lot of the experiences that he had for the first time was with Jamia, from having his first child to going to prom. This is their prom picture. So this is very traumatic for him. And I have a lot of respect for him because it appears, based upon the witnesses, Cedric could have easily have gone off on Darius and said, man, you disrespected me. This is my woman, blah, blah. It appears as though Cedric didn't even say anything. They walked in the car. And, Jamia not going to disrespect her boyfriend and start talking to some guy right in front of her man. Even if it was not in front, she's a faithful woman. She's not going to be talking to some random dude, right? So Darius with his ego, y'all, do you know who I am? Like, really? And they say, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Why is this kind of thing happening all the time now? Exactly, mother of Zach. It's happening way too often. It's so scary. A lot of women are so terrified to reject a man that they give fake numbers out. And even you can't do that anymore. Because what happens is, I had a guy try to talk to me at a store. If you give a number out to them, they immediately call you while you're physically there because they want to verify that it's your number. So that's the scary part about it. If your number doesn't ring in front of them, y'all, you done. You done. So it's a risk giving a wrong number now because they try to call you right when you're physically in their presence. So it's like you almost are forced into giving them your right number. Dinah said, took another person's life because he couldn't handle his narcissistic injury. Exactly, in my opinion. Exactly. I'm with Dinah on that. Couldn't handle his little injury. The audacity for him to even flirt with her while her boyfriend was present. That part, Dinah, that part, so much disrespect. But see, his head was so, his ego, his head was so big. I'm telling you, he's so used to these women dropping they underwear. I'm just saying, being a little graphic, but dropping everything for this man. He's used to this. And I feel like this guy right here, Mr. Michael Davis, I feel like Michael Davis was, again, he was more of Darius's handle man. Do Darius's dirty work. This guy, Michael, probably didn't have much going for him. He was so happy to be around this basketball star and was willing to do whatever it took to be at Darius's beck and call. So when Darius gave him the firearm, he wouldn't handle the dirty work. The weird part is, you would have to ask, why would Michael go and shoot this woman when he wasn't even the one shooting his shot, meaning wasn't trying to talk to the girl? It sounds like he was kind of Darius's inadvertent servant. You know what I mean? Like just kind of doing whatever Darius told him to do. His go-to guy. You know what I mean? Like he didn't have much of a self-esteem about him because he doesn't have much going for his life. So he's so excited to be around this basketball star that he's willing to do whatever it takes to make this guy happy, and goes and shoots this woman when there's no real, like seriously. Right, like Mama Zach said, she said they try to call you right there on the spot. That part, Mother Zach, that's the scary part about it, girl. They try to call you right there. That's what I had to give a guy my real number one time. Just recently, I was at a store, and girl, he asked me for my number, and I was so scared, girl. He was bigger than me too, and he looked kind of thuggish. And girl, why'd I have to give him my number? And he called me right there, and I was in line too, so I couldn't escape. He called me right there. I'm like, the nerve. And I had to change my number, girl. I had to change the number the next day because it was like it was either my life on the line or give this guy my number, because he immediately, girl, as soon as I gave my number, he called it. I was like, oh Lord, these men don't play. Of course, I never called him back. I changed that number so fast. You just stay straight. But I had to be nice because I didn't know if he was going to do something. It's scary these days. Sounds like he wasn't getting any on campus either. Girl, Lakeisha, it sounds like he was, though, because it sounds like his ego was bruised so bad that he had to take this drastic step, and him to say, do you know who I am? Sounds like he's used to these women just like jumping on him. Like he don't have to do much. And so it felt like this was like the first time he ever had a woman reject him. And so his ego was like shattered. He was like, how dare she? I'm so used to these women. I don't even have to talk to these women. They're just throwing themselves at me. And this woman thinks she's too good for me. Michael, handle my work, handle my stuff, and gave him the gun. Like that's going to really alleviate him of criminal liability. Oh, he done. Oh yeah, I do have some Google numbers too. What's the 504? But girl, I didn't think I have my Google numbers, but girl, I was so stressed out that day. My blood pressure was up. My blood pressure was up, and I didn't think, and I just gave him the number, girl. I was so nervous because he looked thuggish, girl. He looked like he was from like West Compton somewhere. I don't know where he was from. And girl, I should have gave him my Google number, but I wasn't thinking straight. I was just trying to get out that store alive. So I just gave him the number because he immediately called, and I was like, oh Lord, help me, Jesus. Help me, Lord. But yeah, you're right. Definitely, guys, ladies, get you a Google number. And we're living in some dark times where these men cannot handle rejection from you guys. Let me know what you think about these updates with Mr. Darius trying to tell the victim, does she know who he is? Like that's supposed to change things. Like she's supposed to leave the father of her child, the man she's been with for 7 years, if not more. She's supposed to leave her man just because he's a basketball player. Make it make sense, y'all. Make it make sense. Okay, right. He was dusty indeed, girl. She said he sounded dusty. He was very dusty, girl. He was dusty. I hear you. I know the feeling from New Orleans. They will cuss you out. Oh, I heard about New Orleans. You're from New Orleans? Or grab you. I heard about a recent case that happened in New Orleans with a woman. Wow, there was something. It was over there. I was like, oh my God, New Orleans is no joke. What? Oh, look, Jazzy, she said the same thing happened to me in Walmart. The guy saw my hands shaking and still wanted my number. Your hands were shaking, Jazzy? Oh my God, poor girl was scared. Oh, poor baby girl. I'll tell you, She said my hand was shaky. He still wanted the number. Dang. Isn't this sad, Jazzy, the times we're living in that we literally, our hands are shaking and we're terrified? It should not have to be this way. That's sad. Do you guys know that movie? I don't know what movie. I think it's called Friday. Maybe it's Friday. There's a movie similar that had like a scene like that where this girl was I think they was at a barbecue, and I don't know, it's supposed to be a comedy where this girl was at a barbecue and the guy asked her for her number. And she was like, I'm not giving you my number. And then the guy puts a gun to her head and said, give me your number. She's like, 457-643-7237. You remember that? And everybody was laughing at that, but that's not funny anymore because that's how it is nowadays. It's like, seriously, if you don't give your number, it's just similar to that movie where the guy put the gun to the girl's head. I know y'all watched that movie. It was supposed to be a comedy, but it's not anymore. It's not funny. That's how it is now. All right, guys, y'all have a lovely night. I may be back tonight because I got a story to talk about, a very tragic one to talk about tonight, y'all. But have a good night. It's so lovely talking to you guys. You guys always make me happy with all your analysis. Take care, my beautiful people.